and welcome into our first baseball edition of the Garnet Trust interview series. If you hear the noise in the background, my dog is playing with her bed. So she is a third participant in this interview. We welcome in our first baseball athlete, Andrew Eyster, I believe senior citizen on this year's baseball team. Excited to have Andrew on board and excited that he's going to be doing a lot of baseball content for us over the course of the entire season. So Andrew, welcome on board. Excited to have you. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, and I'm excited to be here too. I'm excited to get going with Gamecock Central and the Garnet Trust, and hopefully provide people with some content, I guess, and some laughs and other good things.
Absolutely. So I think you were one of the more experienced guys on the roster just from an at-bat standpoint. I think I was writing an article today. I think you have 439 career at-bats just at South Carolina. So you've been through it a couple times. I think this is your fourth year here, third full season, if I'm not mistaken. You had the opportunity, or you had some decisions to make in the offseason. Just kind of take me through, for starters, what made you want to come back and just the entire process from wrapping up the 21 season and then going through the draft process and opting to come back?
Yeah. So, I mean, kind of starting at the end of last year, that last game against Virginia, I kind of, thought that was it. And it was emotional. And, after the game, everyone's in the locker room crying and me too. I was like, man, I just played my last game at Founders Park as a South Carolina Gamecock. And, that's just what I believed and what I thought was going to happen. And go home, do all that stuff. Draft time comes around and I'm feeling pretty confident something's going to happen. Simply just doesn't. And, the draft ends and I'm like, well, okay, that sucks. But at least, I'll be able to sign a free agent deal or something. So, days start going by and, I'm not hearing a whole lot. And I'm like, man, this is weird. Like I was just sure it was going to happen. I wasn't being told by any official sources or anything, but, I had a good idea of that, I was going to start my pro career. And, days, weeks go by and that's kind of when I'm like, oh, well, this might not be happening. And I now have some decisions to make. So, at that point is when I start thinking about, okay, what do I do next? I obviously have an extra year of eligibility to come back. And, there's other things that, other options that I wasn't considering as hard, obviously, like, quitting baseball and moving on with my life. And those things, passed my mind, but, I knew that I wasn't ready to give it up yet, obviously. So, it was a lot of talking with my family, talking with Coach Kingston, and, I even talked to Coach Kaye before I ever even met him. Talking to, Coach Lake was a big help in that process as well. And, just a lot of reflection and that kind of stuff. But, ultimately, it was a pretty easy decision to come back here and to be able to play at Founders again and in front of these fans and, get a full year of full capacity. We definitely missed out on some last year, only having a quarter of what we could for most of the year. So yeah, I mean, the best way I can explain it is when you like expect something to happen and have your mind set on that and it doesn't, it's a feeling of like, man, like, what do I do next? And it was odd. And most people would be like, oh yeah, just go back. Like it's so easy to go back. And at the end of the day, like, yeah, it was the obvious decision and it was an easy one, after there was a lot of reflection thinking about it, but it's definitely a kind of an empty feeling, of you're having your mindset on something that just like doesn't happen. But I'm extremely excited to be back, and I wouldn't I wouldn't wish it, to happen any other way than how it worked.
Yeah, absolutely. And we kind of talked about it at Media Day a couple weeks ago, but is there any pressure this year? I mean, you're obviously going into, we think, knock on wood, your final year of eligibility, unless you find some weird medical red shirt that you could come back to, like what I guess would be your 10th year, or what feels like your 10th year. What's the mentality like now compared to what it was maybe last year, with just not as much pressure maybe on you as it was last year?
Yeah, no, there definitely isn't. And there definitely is not as much pressure. And that's because I've really just accepted whatever happens at the end of this year is what happens, and I'll be perfectly happy and content with whatever that is. And whether that's I'm feeling excited to have a great year and ready to make that next step into pro ball, or whether that's I've completed my tenure at South Carolina, I'm ready to move on to the real world. I don't know what that's going to be, but either way, I'll be happy and content with it. So that definitely has taken a lot of pressure off, because the previous few years it's been a lot of this was my goal was always to play here a couple of years and then move on to pro ball. That's kind of everyone's mentality coming in here, and so there's a lot of pressure to really perform. But this year it's just going to be it's all about having fun and winning ball games and helping the team. Like that's all it is, and it's kind of refreshing and relieving to feel that way, and to not really worry about other things like pro ball and what's next. So I'm looking forward to it, and it's going to make this year more fun, I think.
Yeah. If I had told you when you committed and signed to South Carolina you'd be here for 4 years, or going on 4 years, what would you have probably told me at that time?
I would have told you that you're nuts. Yeah, I would have been like, no, I'd have been like, good.
Yeah.
But no, that's, and I talk about this all the time, and I get asked too, like, because I had the opportunity out of high school, out of junior college, to go start my professional career, and I didn't, to come here, and obviously I thought I was going to do my 2 years and get out, and and people ask me a lot, like, you wish you would have signed, or you wish you would have went, out of JUCO or whatever. And I'm like, and I think most people expect me to say, yeah, because, I would have ended up in pro baseball earlier. But I mean, the answer is no, obviously. And like, to me, obviously, like there's been so many great memories and experiences here, and so many great people that I've met and built relationships with, and I wouldn't trade that for anything, even if it's an opportunity that I thought that it was my dream, my whole childhood. But as you get older, you have a different perspective on things, and
right.
And life happens. I don't even, what was the question? I feel like I just go.
That was perfect. If I had told you that you've been there for
Oh yeah. No, I would have told you you're crazy. But looking back on it now, I mean, I couldn't be happier with how things have gone these last 4 years. Not all. It's worked out perfectly.
Yeah, 100%. And kind of focusing on maybe your career before this year, before we get into kind of this team and what 2022 can be. What you came in, I think in that 2019 season was your first year here. What was that like, getting adjusted to, I mean, you see some velo in JUCO, but getting adjusted to having to go up against those arms consistently, and what was kind of that adjustment period like for you, having to go against the Carmens and the rest of that pitching staff during the falls, and then going into SEC play and facing all those?
Yeah, I mean, it was a big adjustment for sure. The biggest difference obviously is seeing that level of talent and just stuff more consistently. Playing in JUCO in Florida, and it's great baseball, and we get a glimpse of that every once in a while, but it's not like here where it's every single day. And it was hard to try to get used to that, and it took a while. It took the whole fall and the first 2/3 of the spring pretty much until I really started to feel comfortable. And that's that's something that everyone has to go through. You know, no one shows up here, you know, already having mastered this, and no one shows up here being completely comfortable facing guys throwing 95, 96. Like, no matter how much success they have, like there's definitely a learning period, a dry period, I guess, of having to adjust and get used to it. But I mean, it was helpful, obviously, having guys like Carmen and everyone else on that staff. There was, I mean, Rich Chapman, we had Graham, Reed Morgan, guys like that could, you know, really pitch or just throw gas. It was helpful, you know, facing those guys a lot, and that really helped for the season.
Was there a welcome to the SEC moment your first year where you go up against, I forget who some of the Friday night arms were that you were having to hit against, but where you were like, okay, this is a little different than JUCO ball?
Yeah, I mean, the first ever SEC pitcher I faced was Emerson Hancock in Georgia.
That's right.
I'm pretty sure the first pitch I got was a 98 mile an hour fastball. So yeah, I remember like that comes to my mind very clearly.
Yeah.
As the welcome to the SEC moment, and you know, and even that series in general, you know.
Yeah, that Georgia staff was loaded.
Yeah, they were good. They had a few guys that would run up there, high 90s. Yeah. But yeah, that was a tough weekend, and we were playing pretty good up until then. Mm-hmm. And I think we ended up getting swept that series.
Yeah.
And I think I struck out 7 or 8 times, and that kind of like that year I had a really good start of the year. You know, in non-conference against Clemson and those games. And once SEC started is when I hopped on the struggle bus. It was a long ride. It was a long ride, and then about the second half of SEC plays when kind of figured it out and started getting things going, and ended up being a pretty decent year. Personally.
Absolutely, and obviously 2020 gets cut short, but 2021 you come out and I think you finished leading the team in average. What was that season like? Knowing, I mean, obviously it was a good team, got to a regional host. What were some of the memories you take away from that and playing with guys like, you know, the personalities that are Brady Allen, Wes Clark, and going up and spending every day with all of them and hitting with them?
Yeah, I mean, that was a really fun team last year.
Yeah.
And, you know, it sucks. And, you know, you can ask anyone on that team and they'll say the same thing. I mean, we didn't play as well as we should have. Like that team was so talented, and we had so much depth and so many good players on that team. And, you know, everyone was disappointed the way it finished. You know, I think everyone on that team envisioned us finishing and, you know, at least a super regional, if not Omaha. Also, that's the goal. I mean, we believe that we were one of the best teams in the country when we played like it. Of course, that doesn't happen every game, and you kind of saw moments of that last year. But, you know, as far as the guys individually, it was a fun team, and there was a lot of people on that team who, you know, I had been here my whole time.
Yeah.
You know, Brady, Wes, you know, Danny Lloyd, and obviously the guys that are around now. We still got Cam Parker and Sweat and Bosnick, those guys. And so, yeah, I mean, there was definitely some personalities on that team, like you said, Brady and Wes, and you know, having the scythes and the battle axes, and it was fun. It made it fun. You know, there was a lot of great moments of last year's team. You know, like I said, obviously, we would have liked to make it a lot farther than we did, but you know, it was a good year. And personally, you know, I wish that 279 batting average would not have been the team average, but yeah, but that just a lot of room for improvement, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. Is the scythe coming back this year, or is it going to be something else in the dugout?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I kind of feel that was definitely Brady and Wes's thing, and you know, I don't know if it would be right for us to carry that on or not.
I understand.
I'm sure we'll end up with something.
Yeah.
And that's something that we still have to discuss. Got to kind of run short on time to figure that out. But but we'll have something. I mean,
It's gotta be natural, right?
What was that?
It's gotta be natural, right? It can't just be something that's
Yeah. No, we can't force something.
Yeah.
It's just maybe one day it'll just click and that'll start it all. But I mean, this is a fun team with a lot of fun guys, and we're gonna find a way to bring a little extra energy and have fun in the dugout for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned the fact that it's a young team. I think you guys have 18 or so newcomers, a lot of freshmen involved in that. What's this process been like dating back to the fall and then leading up to the season, kind of gelling and figuring out each other's personalities with so many new guys on the team?
Yeah. I mean, every year it's a process of getting the new guys accustomed to this level of baseball and kind of the style of play. Like it's so much different than high school and travel ball. And even me coming from JUCO it was an adjustment. It's just the game's quicker. It's played more aggressively, I would say. It's obviously the talent is like no other, especially coming out of high school. It's a lot of the younger guys are coming from an area or they're coming from an environment where they're celebrated and really put on a pedestal in their area. They're the best high school player on their team, the best high school player in their area, and that pretty much goes for everyone.
Yeah.
And here it's you kind of start out as nobody. Honestly, like you have to earn that respect, and especially with the fans. If you're able to play and perform and do that, then you'll have the respect, and everyone will love you here, and that's something that I think the younger guys begin to realize, especially once we start playing games, and that's something. And obviously, people are always we're recognizable, and so that's the thing too is getting used to. You got to be careful what you do and get used to people knowing who you are, and but it's an adjustment for those guys. But as far as us older guys, getting used to them and taking them under our wing, this is the group of veterans that we have, especially the guys who have been here a while. I put myself in that category. Cam Tringali, Parker Coyne, and like the guys I was saying before, Sweat and Bosnick. There's no like hierarchy.
Right. There's like a closeness there. Yeah.
In the locker room or in the dugout, like it's a real good mesh of everyone's on the same level, and I think you need to have that. Obviously, we have our leaders and people who step up and our vocal guys and whatnot, but once we're in the locker room, in the dugout, on the field, everyone's on the same level, and I think that's important.
Yeah. Who were some of the freshmen or transfers or anything like that we might not be talking about as we sit here less than a week away from opening day that we might be talking about as SEC play approaches as the season goes on? Who are some of the freshmen that have or newcomers that have caught your eye?
Yeah, there's a couple. I mean, obviously, I don't think it's any secret at this point that Brant Belk's gonna, guys like him and Matt Hogan and Kevin Madden, those big transfers that we got, that's not a secret. You guys have been watching them, been hearing about them, know what they've done at their previous schools. So they're going to be a huge help, and that's not a secret. But a couple guys that they might not be talking about right now, I think Cole Messina is one of them, and he's a guy that I think you're going to see in the lineup quite a bit as the season progresses. He can really hit. I've not seen many freshmen at all, if any, who've come in and really hit like he's been able to right out of the gate. It was in the fall starting scrimmages, and it almost seemed like he's been doing this for a while, and he's also pretty mature for his age, and it doesn't seem like he's a freshman. This is the best way to put it, and he's a real talented guy, good kid, and I think he's gonna have an impact on us right away. I think Talmadge LeCroy was another one.
Yeah.
I mean, you've kind of seen what he can do behind the plate. Real good catch and throw guy. He can hit a little bit too. He's not a big guy, but I think he leads our team in homers.
Yeah.
In spring and fall and spring scrimmages so far. Three of those are off a Parker coin. So we give Parker a little crap about that.
I like it.
But I think he's a guy. I don't know what his role is going to be, but at some point he's going to be someone that's important to the team. But that's one thing that I've told a lot of younger guys is that you might be on the bench for a little while, but at some point everyone gets their opportunity, even if it's like the smallest thing, whether it's a pinch hit at bat and you gotta runner on second with no outs and you're trying to move over to third. Like, you're going to get a chance at some point to prove yourself, and everyone's going to be watching, especially the coaches, to see if you can handle it or not. And I think that's important for those younger guys to know, is that, like, obviously, 9, 10 guys, I guess it's 10 with a DH, I think, can only play at one time.
Right.
And so, we got 30-something guys on the team. Right. But everyone's going to get their chance at some point. So just get ready for it.
Absolutely. And what's that? You obviously mentioned Cole Messina, Somerville guy. Evan Stone's a Dutch Fork guy, my alma mater. Scott Wingo's back, Josiah Seitler, Wes Sweat, John Gilreath, all in-state guys. What's that? You're obviously not from South Carolina. What's that mean to have that core group of guys who grew up Gamecocks, who grew up in the state, to kind of be that core of understanding how baseball works and then pairing that with some of the veteran presences who have been around?
Yeah, I mean, this is something that I've talked to a lot of people about, and I think it really means a ton. And I feel, and I know I've talked to you about this before, like coming to South Carolina, as a sophomore from Florida, not knowing anything about the program except that I was pissed when they beat Florida in the College World Series. Like, that's about all I knew. And this place didn't really mean anything to me. The school, the community, the fans, the program, and it's after going on 4 years here, like, I really understand the community, and like it's really such a tight-knit community, and having guys that grew up in that and grew up a Gamecock fan, and obviously having guys like Wingo who have played here and had success on the highest stage, like, it means so much, because this program and the university, but I mean, it's really especially this program, has so much rich history and culture. I mean, you just look at all the numbers. I'm just looking at the numbers, all the years on right field right now, College World Series, Super Regionals, all that stuff. Like, I mean, those are, like, that's a lot of credentials, and to have people who have been around here, for all that and have lived that, it's super important to me to carry on the tradition and the culture. Like, it's, and since I've been here, we've had a lot of out-of-state guys, a lot of JUCO guys that come from different places, and a lot of them have come in and for 1 year and gone, and there's been a lot of turnover.
Right.
But I think it's extremely important to have those in-state guys and guys who grew up Gamecock fans, because it really just means something extra to them.
Right.
Because they grew up coming here and watching this team play, and dreaming one day that they'd be out on this field playing, and obviously I dreamed that I'd be out on a SEC field somewhere, but it wasn't here.
Yeah.
This is where I ended up, and obviously now it means so much. But for those guys who grew up coming here and doing this, I agree. It adds so much to our team, to this program. Absolutely.
I'll ask the Wingo stuff now. What's he been like, and how have him and Coach Kaye really helped you from an approach standpoint, and what's their impact going to be and look like on this offense?
Yeah, I mean, having both of them has been awesome. I'll start off with Wingo. I mean, everyone in this city and who's a Gamecock baseball fan is pumped to have him back, obviously. Being such a instrumental part of those World Series winning teams, like
the team that beat Florida.
Yeah, exactly. And having it's huge for us as players because he was in our shoes, but also succeeded at the highest level, in Omaha where we're all trying to go. And so he's got a viewpoint and an attitude towards that none of us have because he lived it.
Yeah.
And everyone on this team, their ultimate goal to make it to Omaha, he did it. He was there. And so he just has all kinds of wisdom and knowledge to pass on to us. And I mean, at the end of the day, he's just a really good guy too. I mean, I feel like he's my age, to be honest. He's got over 10 years on me, but I feel like he's one of us out there every day. I don't know. I love having him. It's kind of, I joke with him about it sometimes, but it's kind of funny to me. He's like our outfield coach,
right?
But also probably the most recognizable and distinguished middle infielder that Carolina baseball has ever had, in my opinion. Just from he was the second baseman that made the infamous, the famous, backhand play to the catcher to get that out, and but I love having him as our outfield coach too, and then obviously having Coach Kai come and he's been huge, for me offensively. I think he just brings he brings different ideas, we've had a few different guys. Coach Current, at one point was kind of leading the hitters, and obviously Coach Lake for a few years, and I love Coach Lake to death. Like he's one of my favorite people in the world, and now having Coach Kai, it's a lot of different ideas that I can just decide. Oh, I like this, and having. And that, I think that's key is having a lot of information and just being able to decide what you want to do with it or not. But I mean, he's going to be huge for us this year, especially when it comes to like being on the base paths. And I think I told you this. He told me he wants me to lead the SEC in delayed steals. So we'll see how that goes.
Speed demon, Andrew Eyster, right?
See how that goes. But I mean, I don't know. I think we're gonna play. We're gonna be a fast playing team this year, and we're gonna be dynamic on the offensive side. And I think personally too, it's a big help. And I expect to have my best year this year for sure.
Yeah. Kind of wrapping up. I got two more for you, but just what does this offense? Obviously, a lot of fans want to talk about the offense, and it struck out a little bit too much last year. It was pretty streaky at times. What's this offense going to look like? What's some of the progress you've seen made from the end of 21 until kind of the start of this season?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for this offense is just experience and maturity. I mean, if you look at who we're going to have in the lineup, like obviously I don't know what the lineup's going to look like on Friday, but there's a few veterans and obviously some of the transfers who've been doing this a long time, who have a lot of at bats, and that really just means so much. I've learned so much every year that I've been here. I know so much more at this point than I did a year ago this time. And so I just think it's going to be a more professional lineup, or take better at bats, take our walks. Especially that's something that I've been working on hard, and that you're going to see me improve on personally. But it's going to be mature approaches and the mature offense, but also some excitement. We got some speed, not including me, but we do have speed. I think we're gonna steal a lot more bags. Like we're gonna just run. It's gonna be exciting to watch more than just who's at the plate. Like I think there's gonna be a lot going on, and it's gonna be exciting to watch, really. But I mean, I think it's just gonna be an all-around dynamic, more improved offense. We're going to score with obviously score more runs, strike out less. And I think the big thing is like situational hitting as well. And that's something that really comes with maturity and just having more at bats is just being aware of situations and knowing what to do during those situations. And so I think that's something we'll be a lot more improved on as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Kind of wrapping up, we have you for the entire season, so we'll get into. I'm planning on getting into more Clemson stuff as we get closer to that series. We'll obviously do some more. I kind of want to do some inside baseball hitting approach, swing, analytic, all that fun stuff. But as we wrap, you've been here for what feels like 10 years. You're not the oldest guy on the roster. That goes to Brent Belk.
Yeah.
But I want kind of your best memory or your favorite story that you can willingly share that won't necessarily get you into it. What's your favorite story or moment, maybe over the last couple of years that you've gotten to play here?
Yeah, there's been a few really good moments, no doubt. I think I'll give you a little more personal one.
Okay, that works.
I'm gonna give you the good stuff.
Good.
Yeah,
the good stuff. Yeah.
This is something that not many people know about, except the guys who are on that team and the coaches and just people within the program. But the COVID year 2 years ago, when we played Clemson, earlier that year, my stepdad, who was he's one of the biggest influences in my life, especially with baseball. He was diagnosed with cancer earlier in that year, and it was pretty late. They found it late, and it was pretty fast moving. And he actually passed away Thursday before that Clemson series started. And so that was obviously a roller coaster of emotions. I got to go home and see him a couple weeks before that, which was great. And he got to come and watch one of the series before that. And so he passed away that Thursday before, and then we played that series. We ended up losing the series, but I got the Tom Price Award, which is the award for the MVP of that series. And it's a big deal, obviously. That's
a lot of big names have won that award too. So.
Yeah, exactly. And it's one of the best rivalries in college sports. I think it's the best rivalry in college sports.
Yeah.
And I grew up being around the Florida State rivalry, and I think it's the best. And then so we fast forward a year to last year against Clemson, and we're playing in Greenville for the first game.
Yeah.
And obviously we go to extra innings, and I hit the walk-off base hit. It was so late. It was such a long game.
Yeah.
And later I found out, I guess it's my step uncle, my stepdad's brother, texted me and told me that it was exactly a year, exactly one calendar year from his death that I hit that first walk off. And I was like, and that it hit me hard. I was like, there's some things that that I feel like can't be coincidence,
Yeah.
And
divine intervention at that point.
Yeah, and that was really special, I thought, and to have it exactly a year after was I thought it was just kind of nuts. And obviously that the whole series was probably the best memory, the best moment of my career here, I think. But just having that, it was just super special, and I don't know whether people believe in God or not. I think that it had to have been God that was in that moment, and it was, I don't know how to explain it, but it was a really special thing.
Kind of surreal, almost like an out-of-body experience for you.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I can't think of a better way to end it on a great story like that. So we'll wrap for this one, but Andrew, I can't thank you enough for hopping on, and we got you a couple more times through the course of the season to do a bunch of different stuff with Garnet Trust. we can't wait. We're really excited about this partnership and having a senior citizen, I think the oldest member of South Carolina's baseball team, Brent Belk, on with us. So can't thank you enough, and looking forward to talking to you again real soon.
Me too, Colin. I'm excited for it, man.